Hi, I've got something you'll be interested in. Those performance upgrades we discussed after the last race. They're on the car and the data looks promising. Take a look at the details.
What's up guys, and welcome back to a brand new video and a brand new episode of my F1 2017 career mode, and we are here for round number 14 for the Singapore Grand Prix. And the last couple of races, guys, have been absolutely fantastic. If you have missed them, then I do urge you to go check them out in the description down below, and also in the card annotation in the top right hand corner of your screen. But a really good couple of races, and we're coming into this race with a lot of momentum and just positive vibes overall. And jumping into Friday practice, I was trying to get the car shaken down, trying to get a good feel for it and seeing if I could get it to suit this Singapore track, because you'd think this car would not suit this track. So obviously knowing that, I knew I had work to do, and I actually think I managed to strike quite a nice balance, to be fair, and the car was working very nicely for me, and I was running pretty high aero, I believe around 1010, really pushing the aerodynamics of the car, and that combined with the rest of the setup, I think I actually managed to strike a pretty good balance, to be fair. And the Friday practice session was very successful, and we got a very good amount of resource points to add to the bank, and overall I was feeling pretty positive going into qualifying. And before qualifying, as you can see on screen, we did get a new rival in the form of Esteban Ocon, or not new, but once again a brand new renewed rivalry, should we say, with the Frenchman after we drew the last one. But now moving into Saturday qualifying here, and straight away in Q1 we opted for the fastest ultra soft compound tyres, and we're just going to set a respectable lap time here to basically see us through. We do go fastest at the time I set the lap, about 4 minutes to go, but eventually we would fall down the order a little bit because other people would improve, and we would drop down to P7 there, but nonetheless comfortably through into Q2 and the second part of qualifying. Now, speaking of Q2, we are now going to opt for the slower super soft compound tyres to try and start the race on these tomorrow. And so far in the first sector, we're up on Nico Hulkenberg quite comfortably, and we're still up by quite a bit in the second sector as well. And so far these tyres are working quite nicely for me, and the lap was actually coming together pretty nicely. And with one more corner to go here now through the final corner, I was pretty confident I'd go P1, but the question was, how much further down the order would I drop, or would I drop down the order at all? We'll have to wait and see, but otherwise you can see we do go fastest there quite comfortably ahead of Hulkenberg, and we would drop down a few places, exactly down to P10. We just scraped through into Q3. We got very lucky there. Massa actually got knocked out, but we managed to just scrape through in P10 on the super soft tyres there, so we're very lucky indeed. And now jumping into Q3, our first lap was pretty good. I got a second place behind Raikkonen, but I did go for another run because I think there was a bit more time I had left on the table. And straight away we're going to run aboard now for a lap here of the Singapore circuit, and straight away into turn one, really attacking the curbs here. You've got to really attack the racetrack and gain the maximum time possible, but also without overdriving it, because I feel like a big key around the circuit is to not overdrive the lap. You've got to sort of attack it without going over the limit. You've got to be pretty comfortable whilst doing it, and a good setup, but obviously a good car underneath you does really help with that. And straight away, as you can see through the first sector, about a tenth and a half up, and fastest in the first sector so far, so very good start to the lap. But we're now going to go into the second sector, where I tend to lose a bit of time, and it's a question of really trying to get this sector absolutely perfect. And so far it's not too bad. We did miss our apex a little bit there, and a bit of a shaky exit just to add on top a little bit of time loss, so maybe half a tenth left on the table there for sure. But now going through the old Singapore sling section and into the Anderson Bridge, and so far it's not too bad. Pretty nice and tidy through here as we now go into the hairpin, picking up the apex beautifully there. And then on the power, a little bit of a tank slapper, but still very much under control, and pretty much 2 tenths up on our previous best as we now brake hard for turn 13, down to third gear, pick up the apex and use the exit sort of runway on the left hand side as much as you want to. But now going through the next short section of right and left handers, this is all pretty much the final sector of 90-degree corners, you could say, and we're still about a couple of tenths up, so we're doing a good lap so far as we go under the bridge. We're very close to the wall there on the left hand side, but so far it's coming together very nicely there as we now go through the last couple of corners here, as close as you like to the wall on the right hand side. A little bit of a love tap there, and now through the final corner, really throwing the car in. I got a little bit too wide actually, and I didn't really attack the apex enough, so that probably cost me about another half a tenth to a tenth. But across the line it is 7th place, and we do improve. But overall lap wise, I think maybe a tenth could have come off of that in total, maybe a tenth if I was perfect. We actually managed to match our time with Ricardo, but he set his time before me. But if we just maybe found a tenth, I think we could have maybe got P5 maybe. But Either way, I think P7's pretty good. I'm not too disappointed with that. So overall, a good qualifying, considering this is a track that you think wouldn't suit our car. And we've also massively outperformed Felipe Massa. But moving into Sunday, it's going to be interesting because there is a chance of rain. So the strategy is going to be blown wide open, and there's a chance for us to maybe make something happen with Sebastian Vettel leading the way from the front. But overall, that was the story of Saturday qualifying. And we're now going to move into Sunday for the Singapore Grand Prix. Okay, here we are then on the grid for the Singapore Grand Prix, round number 14 of the season, and we qualified pretty good yesterday and getting ourselves a very solid P7 for the race here today, and also starting on the super soft compound tyres, the only person in the top 10 to do so, so that's going to really help me out in terms of our overall race strategy for today, which is going to be very interesting. But first things first, obviously, after the results in the last two races, I don't think we can win today unless the race strategy plays into our hands, so realistically, I would like to get a top 5 and finish behind both of the Mercedes and Ferraris, but we'll have to see how it goes. As long as I don't finish any lower than where I've qualified, then I'll be pretty happy. But overall, Singapore is a track that I do enjoy driving, and to be fair, I was quite surprised how well this car handles around here. I'm running very high aero in the form of 1010, and it's giving me good grip for the corners, and it's sort of making up for a lack of downforce that we have on the car. And overall, the car feels really, really solid around here, so I feel like I can actually push the car a bit, which is what I want. So in terms of the race strategy, though, you can see on screen right now, there is rain expected, and the weather's a bit all over the place. It's going to be like light rain, light rain, and then light rain to the finish. So it's a bit it's going to be interesting. So basically, I think the issue here is if we do have to come off these super soft tyres, then I hope the rain, we've got enough time to maybe put another stint on the ultra softs, but we'll have to wait and see, and maybe see how the race pans out. But it's going to be interesting tyre-wise and strategy-wise, because the weather has changed slightly compared to what was told to me yesterday in qualifying on the weather forecast screen for some reason. So we'll have to see how it all pans out. We've underfueled by about 1.5 laps, as fuel is not going to be a priority this race, so we can basically focus on the racing and going as hard as we can in terms of obviously pushing the limits of the track and the car. So hopefully we can have a good race here today, and without further ado, let's jump straight into the race for round number 14 for the Singapore Grand Prix. Right then, here we go. We're going to get ready for the 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go for Singapore. And it's a pretty good start for the line, to be fair. Not too bad to say we was on the super soft tyres. We're going to try and find our way to the inside. We're going to get a sandwich though between the two Red Bulls if we're not careful, and we've lost the place to the Force India, who's going around the outside of the Red Bull. We're going to try and go back up the inside of Verstappen here. A little bit of contact, but we've managed to just get our nose in front and recover our original starting position here. So back up into P7, and we go on to the longest straight on the track, on the back straight, the curve back straight, so to speak, for the first time this race. And Raikkonen under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo here, but now the question is, what is our pace going to be like on this super soft tyre compared to these guys in front on the ultra softs? If we can keep pace, I think we were doing pretty good for ourselves. So I think we definitely can keep up with them, unlike past tracks. I think we will have the overall race pace to try and keep within at least a second for the DRS here. So basically right now it's going to be a question of hanging it in there. It's going to be a very long race, so we just got to be patient and also keep an eye out for the weather. Okay, so early on, Ricciardo's already dropping back from the front 4, and we're definitely a little bit faster than Daniel Ricciardo here, so I think we've got the pace to pass the Australian. We just got to try and find him and try and get him in a good spot. Obviously, the straight line speed of this car has been absolutely eradicated this race due to the very high air I'm running. I've got not very good straight line speed, so we're going to have to try and do the move in a brake zone and try and catch him out, because this is the only place you're going to pass really on one of these street tracks, is if you sort of pull a move out of nowhere and surprise him. But as you can see on the mini-map, Ricciardo is dropping back here, and I've definitely got the pace. I'm strongest in the 3rd sector, so maybe into turn 1 could be a possibility. Okay, yellow flags in front. Someone's had a problem here, and there's still yellow flags staying out, so someone's had an issue further back. Someone's had to pull over, and we've got a safety car early on here, so Alonso out of the Singapore Grand Prix, and that's very interesting, because that might mean that I could probably get these tyres to the wet period and go straight into the inters if the rain comes down, whereas these guys on ultras might struggle. So that's definitely opened up the race a little bit for me. So now we just got to basically get through the safety car period, and also let's see if anyone pits now. I think it's a bit too early for people to come in, but you never know. And yeah, there are going to be some people coming in. Both of the Ferraris actually come in, so Ferrari are going to have to stack their cars, and Raikkonen is going to have to wait very long to get past. And so far, I didn't think I'd beat the Ferraris, but we're going to be ahead of both of the red cars, and we're only 20 points behind the championship. So at the moment, Ferrari are taking a very risky strategy call by pitting both of their cars. So let's see how this one pans out. I mean, it's essentially a free pit stop, so it'll probably come back to them later on when the rain comes down if all these guys on ultras pit. But This is very interesting now because we're up in the P5. Both Ferraris have pit. So right now we're going to be gaining so many points on the Ferraris in the championship. So this is really, really interesting now. Okay, so according to Jeff, the rain is 15 minutes away, which realistically speaking, that might make things a little bit tough for the Ultra Soft guys to make it, whereas I probably can. So that's looking very good for me. So let's just try and hope the safety car period doesn't take too long, because the longer it goes, the more it's going to suit the guys around me and Ultra Softs, and we can get racing. Okay, so the safety car is coming in this lap, so we've got to get ready for the restart. Hamilton's going very slow, and forcing everyone behind him to go very, very slow here, but we've got to be on our toes and ready for the restart here and ready for the green flag, but that's going to get thrown any second now, and I want to try and be on a better racing line, and we've just got our nose alongside Ricciardo here just to get him unsettled a little bit and try and be right on the back of him now. And we're going to go into the final corner. If I can just get a good run through here, which I have done, I'm very close to Ricciardo, I've got a chance of making the move on the Australian. Look at the straight line speed issues though. We're going to sort of dummy around and try and make the move on Ricciardo, and there we go. We're just going to slide up the inside and make the move on the Australian. So up with the P4 we go, and now the question is, can we keep pace with this with the front three, because these guys are definitely much faster than Ricciardo. So if we can keep up with these guys, we're looking pretty good around here. So let's try and get the hammer down. I do feel confident in my race pace. I felt comfortable in qualifying, but my race pace definitely feels pretty good. So hopefully we can make something happen here. Okay, so far we've dropped back a little bit from the guys in front. Ocon has now overtaken Ricciardo, and he's catching up to me bit by bit. However, the rain should arrive at any second, and we've got to keep an eye out for the weather. We are scheduled to pit on lap 11, so it more or less may even coincide with a switch to intermediates if the rain comes down hard enough. But right now, we're doing a good job holding P4 quite nicely, and there's a bit of battle going up ahead with Perez and Bottas, so that's helping me out. But we're comfortably staying ahead of Ocon for now, so we're just sort of doing our thing at the moment, setting personal best, basically. Okay, the rain has now arrived at the Marina Bay circuit, and that final sector was a little bit poor, just lost a little bit of time here, so we're basically now waiting for a switch to intermediates. Unfortunately, the guys on Ultras have stayed out all this time, and that is very frustrating, whereas Massa, for example, as you just saw, hasn't made it to the rain period. So this is very awkward now, because I'm hoping these guys do pick this up for another set of dries. If not, then we're going to have to basically fight out with these guys in the intermediates, which to be fair I don't mind because we're not too far behind, so I welcome any challenge. Okay, Lewis Hamilton has come into the pit lane, the race leader, and he's coming for another set of Ultra Softs by the looks of it, so Hamilton was not able to make his tyres last until the intermediate period, so that is not going to be good for him, and he's potentially thrown away a race win, and we're now up into third place. Like I said, thanks to my tyre strategy, all I'm doing is outlasting the guys around me who have got more aggressive with the tyres in qualifying, because I knew this rain was going to arrive in the race. So it's basically a battle of, you know, who can make their tyres last. These guys on Ultras won't have much rubber left, and they're sort of just swimming out at sea trying to get to the intermediates period. Okay, now Valtteri Bottas comes into the pit lane from Mercedes in the other car. I'm going to presume he's also going to go to dry tyres. Another guy that couldn't make his tyres last. It looks like the Force Indias are looking the strongest car around here, are the best overall package, because they're able to make their tyres last and also have some great pace. So the Force Indias are really, really good around here. And I wonder what the Ferraris may be, but either way, this lap could be the one to switch over to Inters now, as the rain is starting to pick up a little bit on intensity. Okay, so I'm going to come in this lap for intermediates, and there is still plenty of grip on this dry tyre, but I feel like by next lap, the grip won't really be there. I think it's sort of on a knife edge. So we're going to come in for our first stop of the race onto the intermediate compound tyres, like I said, and hopefully it will pay off for us and the rain starts coming down a little bit more. There is heavy rain expected in 10 minutes, so the rain's only going to get worse from this point onwards. So, you know, we've got to be ready for the switch over. There's Raikkonen and there's Sebastian, so they're in close proximity to one another and sort of doing their thing in the Ferraris, and there is Hamilton not too far behind. But like I said, we're on these Inters now, and here's Bottas as well, and that goes to show how much they gained on the fresh dry tyres. But now we're on the Inters, the better race time in my opinion, and we've got to basically survive while the track is a little bit dry still, but these tyres will come to us very soon. The track is definitely still a bit dry, not as wet as I thought it'd get for intermediates. We've got Ricciardo behind us here with DRS, and there's Verstappen exiting the pit lane on another set of dry tyres, but the conditions are very much on the crossover because I get better traction, but these guys still have to grip through the corners. Perez is still ahead of me in net position, but obviously, like I said, in the conditions, it could all go out the window. We could be in the net race lead if the rain comes down now, and we don't have to wait too long on these tyres, but I'm definitely cooking these up a little bit in these dry conditions, but it's definitely not terrible. Like, the car still can drive fine. I've just got to be careful what I do. But it shouldn't be too long now before DRS does get disabled, because the track is definitely looking very moist now. Okay, we've got cars in the pit lane. I'm going to presume they're all in for intermediates, and indeed they are. DRS is now disabled, so everyone is in the pit lane. A few screen freezes here and there, but we're going to jump all the way up into P4. The person who's nailed this is Esteban Ocon, who hasn't actually done a pit stop on the dry tyres. He went straight from ultras to intermediates, and look where he is. He's managed to jump me, so fair play to him. But we're currently in P4. There's a lot of screen freezing because of the changing conditions. I do apologise for that, but now basically I think the top two are still on dry tyres. So essentially I believe Ocon is leading this race now, and I'm in second place. Right, so the remaining cars are in the pit lane off of those dry tyres. Vettel and Bottas in the pit lane, and indeed it is true. Ocon takes the lead of the race. I'm in second now, so we're going head to head with Esteban Ocon for this race win at the moment, and let's see how this all pans out. Raikkonen's not too far behind, to be fair, on the intermediate. Somehow, after that pit stop under the safety car, he's still in the mix. So yeah, let's keep our eyes open for Raikkonen. He could be coming towards us very soon, but also we've got to switch to heavy wets on the horizon, so this race is far from over. Okay, so the heavy rain looks like it has arrived now, and it's really picking up in intensity, so we've got to be careful. And we've got the heavy wets already selected, so we're ready to switch over whenever necessary. But we are catching Ocon here. Also, Raikkonen is also catching me up, but not as much as I thought. This car is actually driving much better than I expected in these conditions. I have struggled in the past quite a lot in the wet, but I think it's just purely down to the fact that the 1010 aero and just running such a high downforce setup is just helping me out a lot, because I can really notice the difference with the car performance in these conditions, and I'm really excelling in them, and I'm visually catching Ocon quite a bit now, so we could be taking the lead of this race here if we keep this going. Okay, so we're now pretty much within a second of Esteban Ocon. Raikkonen about 4 seconds behind me, but the track is definitely starting to feel like it might be full wet this lap. The aquaplaning is just starting to become a bit more apparent, and the car is sort of sliding about the surface a lot more, so we've got to be very careful to not put the car in the wall here. Also keeping an eye out on the conditions and trying to maybe pit this lap and undercut Ocon on the strategy. Oh, Lewis Hamilton out of the race. Big retirement there from this race, and he was in P4, so he's out. Now I don't know whether to pit this lap or not for the full wets. The track still feels okay for inters, but do I risk it? I think I'm going to go for it. I've got to take a gamble and try my luck here. So we're going to come into the pit lane, and hopefully this gamble pays off. Let's get it all slowed down and go onto the full wet compound tyres. But let's see how this goes. Hopefully it's a good, nice pit stop, and we can get straight back on the track. And we've got a bit of time. Even if it goes wrong for us, at worst we're going to be in P3 behind Raikkonen, so that's still not too bad. So let's hopefully have a good stop here, which it has been. A 2.3, not too bad. And now we've got a ridge on the track. I think I've got this time right. I think the tyres were just starting to let go with the amount of water on track, so I think it's going to suit these full wets a lot more. And I think I've managed to time it a bit better than my last switch over when it comes to tyres. So here we go, back onto the track, and straight away I feel a nice bit of grip on these tyres already compared to the inters, so I think we might have nailed this one. I think so far this might be the right call. Okay, so people in the pit lane in the form of Valtteri Bottas and also Sebastian Vettel going in. So far these wet tyres, they don't feel horrible, but they're definitely not as fast as the intermediate. Something's just missing for some reason. Even though the rain has been coming down for some time now, it's not completely full wets just yet. So I'm hoping the rain keeps falling, but apparently it's going to dry up in like 10 minutes time, so I've got a feeling it's one of them things where the AI don't actually go into the wet tyres at all and stay on the inters the entire way through. So if that is the case, I'm going to have to try and soldier it out in these conditions with these tyres and try my best. Okay, so Raikkonen has come into the pit lane and made another stop for inters and is still ahead of me. Ricciardo has also come in here, so this is going to be a very long final stint. I'm contemplating just staying it out on these until the end of the race. Okay, so I'm just going to bite the bullet because I don't want to have to suffer for the rest of this race when I can still maybe make something happen. So we're going to come in and get the intermediates on the car. Fortunately, strategy gamble to full wets did not pay off. For some reason, the game once again has caught me out with the dynamic weather system, and I've paid the price because there was heavy rain expected and it never actually came down that badly. So unfortunately, we've messed up pretty badly there, and Bottas, Vettel and Ricciardo and maybe some other guy might even actually pass us and be ahead of us, and Verstappen as well. So I'm going to give it a really good go in this final stint because I still think we can get something out of this. I mean, the 3 cars in front of us are definitely catchable, so we're going to give it a good go this stint, and let's see if we can recover what has been a pretty poor middle part of the race and try and get something good out of it. So let's crack on with it and try and push. Okay, these tyres feel so good. I actually feel like I'm racing on a dry track. That's how much faster I feel. I'm much faster than Verstappen here, so this could be pretty good for us. Okay, 1.3 faster, sorry, 1.1 faster than Verstappen on that last lap alone, so we're definitely quick. I think both of the Red Bulls are catchable, but I think that might be the best we can do unless there's like a late safety car. Okay, sorry for a lack of talking, but I've just been so focused on trying to catch Verstappen, and we're now on the back of him with about 2.5 laps to go. We're looking very quick around this track in these wet conditions, which I never thought I'd say, but we're looking very racy, so I'm going to try and set him up for a move here and maybe try and pass him very soon, because I've got a lot of confidence in the car, brakes and tyres right now. So we're very close to Verstappen using the rich mix here. I'm a little bit far away to go for a move, but I'm definitely not going to rule it out. I think I'll go for a dive at any corner, to be honest with you, because I've just got so much confidence in the car and brakes. So let's just try and play this one calm, because also I do want to not have any issues with my overtake and try and get Ricciardo, but I've got to pass Verstappen now, because otherwise I'm not going to have enough time to catch Daniel Ricciardo. So I'm thinking same sort of move out the final corner into turn 1 is going to be the one. So let's try and get nice and close to Verstappen through this section here, make sure we keep it all nice, neat and tidy, which we have done. And now we're just going to sort of launch the car into the final corner, really throw the nose in there and basically hope for some grip, which we haven't really had, to be fair. And Verstappen's still going to stay ahead here, which is very frustrating, but I'm knocking on the door and I'm just so close. I want to try and pass him as soon as possible. So come on, let's try and focus here, have a good bit of traction out of here maybe. There we go, that's not too bad. I've got to really throw the car into this next corner and try and set myself up for the back straight. Can we make a move here? Nice bit of traction, to be fair. Rich mix enabled and flowing. We are very far back, which isn't ideal, but I'm tempted to just launch it in there. I'm going to have to hold back for now, though. Let's just keep going, because we're looking very good here. I don't want to sort of interrupt this commentary, because I think it's quite good for you guys to watch how I'm thinking live whilst trying to plan out an overtake, but it's got to be now or never. And you know what, I'm just going to keep in rich mix for the rest of the race now, because we should be okay. So I'm up on the wall there. It's not ideal. It's going to cost me a couple of tenths of a second, but this corner here is where I tend to gain a bit of time. I'm going to go down the third gear, sort of Mario Kart the car around the corner, really attack the curbing, and we're just close, but we're not really close enough. If I can just get the nose turned in here and try and get the traction on as soon as possible, this is my best place, I think. If I can get the power down, I just can't get it. It's like the second I've caught up to Verstappen now, I'm losing a lot of front end grip, because with dirty air or just spray, or I don't know what it could be, but I've lost a lot of grip and time, and I don't think I'm going to get Ricciardo now unless I have a miracle final lap and pass Verstappen like now. I've overcooked it into there because of the rich mix, but I need to concentrate. Frustratingly, I just feel like, because the heavy rain has now passed and it's properly light rain conditions, I think the AI might have found a bit of pace. This is going to be my last chance. I'm close enough this time, or somewhat closer, but he's actually pulling away from me in a straight line, which isn't ideal. I'm just going to have to go for it on the brakes, but even then, he's pretty good into there. So Verstappen is holding me off here on the last lap, which is really frustrating to me, but I feel like I'm getting close, and I just need to try and not get too hot under the collar, and I should be able to make the move if I play my cards right here. So I've got a chance now, I know, going to this next section, because I'm pretty good into here. So what I've got to do is just throw the car in there and find some grip. We're very, very, very close to Verstappen, closer than we have been on any other lap. And now through the Anderson Bridge, I just can't make the move. He's finding traction now, which he was not finding when I was catching him up. It's like, out of here, I've always been better than the AI, but for some reason now, the AI is just untouchable on traction for some reason. So this is really becoming a frustrating end to the race. I thought I could have made the move here, but I can't see it happening. I'm going to try and fight Verstappen to the finish, but I just don't know where I'm going to pass him now. And also, I just felt my tyres are just starting to let go now, because I had such good grip trying to catch Verstappen, and now they're just letting go. And the AI, I definitely think I found a bit of pace in these light rain conditions now. And I say light rain, I mean there's no more rain falling down actually, so the rain's actually stopped. So Verstappen's actually going to hold on to this, I think, and bring it home for P7. And there, that's frustrating. I don't think I'm going to do it, and it's going to be P8. Very disappointing. We were going to win this race, it looked like, at one point, and we've come home in 8th. Disappointing, really disappointing, because that wet stint really just, it's frustrating for me, because the game said full wet conditions, and for some reason it's just not full wet conditions because the intermediates are actually faster still. So really, really frustrating. And I think, you know, that race there, we could have won that, and that could have been for the championship. I mean, that could have been something else. That could have been special because Ocon's brought it home in first place, but that could have been us. And with those conditions, we could have definitely gained a good chunk of points and been within like 10 points of Kimi Räikkönen, and that would have been something. That would have been something special. And I think we might have even overtaken Vettel in the championship, but instead we've lost points. I mean, I'm not too good because we never was in for the championship anyway. But the fact we got so close, I think my chance is gone now. I'm happy though we were so competitive around the track that I was not expecting to be that competitive at. But either way, Ocon wins, and Perez actually got second and Raikkonen third. So had we won, we would have definitely gone pretty much first in the championship, I think, maybe. So slightly more disappointing to see it happen like that on the podium. But either way, that was a crazy Singapore Grand Prix. And we're now going to move into the final race results, drivers and constructor standings. And let's see how things shape up. Right, so looking at the final race results, we come home in a disappointing 8th place ahead of our teammate Felipe Massa there, with Esteban Ocon winning the race from 9th place on the grid ahead of his teammate Sergio Perez. So Force India take an unlikely 1-2 around a track that you wouldn't really think their car would be that competitive in. Then Kimi Räikkönen rounds off the podium with Bottas not too far behind in 4th place, and then Sebastian Vettel in 5th with a 5-second penalty also added to his final time. So Ricciardo and Verstappen there following 6th and 7th, and Van Dorn scores the final point there for McLaren Honda. But further down the order you can see that the retirements today: Fernando Alonso, Nico Hulkenberg, Lewis Hamilton and Kevin Magnussen. But in terms of the driver standings, we now lose a few points and we're 31 points adrift from Kimi Räikkönen, and the two Ferraris still split by only 6 points, so those guys are neck and neck. And no more further changes in the drivers. And in terms of the constructors, everything stays exactly the same. We're still about 30 points behind Mercedes. So like I said, that's the thing we're trying to catch maybe by the end of the season. But other than that, we're now going to jump into the laptop. Okay, so looking at the R&D screen, I wasn't going to do an upgrade, but I thought to myself, you know what? If I buy this engine upgrade here, which should arrive for the next race in Malaysia, we've also got the ultimate air upgrade arriving on the car, and then also that would unlock this ultimate engine upgrade going into the next season. So I'm going to buy this one for 800 points, and hopefully that will arrive for the next one in Malaysia along with the air upgrade. And then after that, pretty much, I'm going to start saving points for next season. I don't think I'm going to do any more R&D upgrades. It's going to be a question of just saving loads and loads of R&D points and buying upgrades going into next season. I might maybe do 1 or 2 more upgrades, maybe on overall like wear, especially just to get these 4, which are on still not even level 1, just to at least get those maybe. But we'll see how it goes, because those 4 things do need upgrading. Like they're starting to be a hindrance now, and going to next season, if we do go for the championship, we need the reliability to be much better on the car. But we'll sell for those upgrades for now. As you can see, they're meant to arrive from Malaysia, both of them, and on the graph you can see in the bottom right, if they both arrive and everything goes well, then we should actually jump Renault in terms of being ahead of them in the R&D chart. So fingers crossed it all works out for us, and we will then be the 5th best team. We can then begin the chase to try and go after Red Bull Racing. But as you can see, there is a chart right now as it stands at this current point in the season, and the Ferrari's gap at the top coming down a little bit now compared to the rest of the guys finally, and going back to almost like Monaco where everyone was pretty close to them at one point. But yeah, that's going to wrap things up for this episode, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. If you have, then please do slap a like on the video. Also subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and also please be sure to check out these videos on screen if you have missed them by chance. And also please be sure to check out GT Omega. Use the code TOM97 for a 5% discount on any of your purchases. And other than that, guys, a massive thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one very soon. Goodbye.